After they inherited my late husband's company, I discovered an old painting with a hidden photo. Emily Turner stood on the threshold of her late husband's company office, a place that should have felt like home but now suffocated her with memories. The musty air, thick with unspoken words, surrounded her as she gripped the doorknob, her heart racing. With a deep breath she stepped inside, knowing that this would force her to confront not just grief, but the chaos that had ensued since Mark's death. His siblings, it was always about profit now, their ambition as raw as the Iowa soil outside. She was a schoolteacher, barely scraping through the days filled with lesson plans and the steady juggling of homework and meals. What did she know about construction companies or business dealings? But what choice did she have? As she moved deeper into the cluttered office, her pulse quickened. She had hoped to find direction in Mark's legacy but felt only confusion and anger. He had poured his heart and soul into building this company, and yet his siblings seemed to want to tear it apart. They were pressuring her to sell, to let go of everything that mattered. The weight of their demands settled heavily on her shoulders, mixing with the dark reality of her loneliness, clouding her judgment. Then she noticed a painting tucked away in a corner, hidden as if it bore a secret too heavy to share. Motioning toward it, she felt a strange pull, a connection to the past that drew her in. Kneeling beside it, she hesitated, fingers trembling as she brushed away the dust. Revealing the cracked surface, she could feel her breath catch. A sudden rush of both dread and anticipation, a sensation she couldn't quite place. Inside the frame lay a photograph of a man she didn't recognize, his face shrouded in mystery. Who was this stranger? And more disturbingly, why did he take residence within something Mark had cherished? The implications churned inside her, a cocktail of doubt and betrayal. How well had she known Mark? She grappled with thoughts that seized her heart. Was there a part of him she had never understood? An entire chapter of his life he had chosen to keep hidden? Visions of their family flashed before her, laughing at the kitchen table, dancing in the living room, all accompanied by a gnawing uncertainty that threatened to unravel it all. Her children needed her to be strong, but what if the ground beneath her was less stable than she believed? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the tension in her gut tightened, she sought the answers that the painting and photograph whispered of. Morton's siblings looming in a shadowy dance of greed. Trust, like a fragile strand of silk, threatened to snap. And there she sat amidst the debris of her life, uncertain if uncovering the truth would heal or destroy her. Each brushstroke on the painting seemed to taunt her, revealing artistic talents she never recognized within herself, but also deepening her internal conflict, a reminder of all she potentially had to lose. Just when she thought she was starting to gain control over her thoughts, a sudden realization about the man in the photograph hit her like a cold wave. It twisted her stomach and sent roomy realization coursing through her veins. The implications cracked open like a lightning bolt on a summer night, illuminating the corners of her mind that had long been shrouded in darkness. Who he was in relation to Mark felt like a shadow looming large, and a question burned hot within her. Should she confront the truth or shield her family from the upheaval that could follow? The weight of the painting in her hands felt heavier now, and the promise of unknown revelations loomed like a distant storm. With the photograph almost slipping through her fingers, she stood on that perilous edge, a deep breath escaping her lips. What if she was on the brink of a discovery that would shatter everything she knew and loved? The choice lay poised before her, and the road ahead felt both terrifying and exhilarating. The decision lay in her hands, a trembling, anxious heart ready to step into the unknown. Emily turned the photograph over in her hands, the torn edges of the paper catching the muted light filtering through the dusty window. She struggled to breathe as the reality of what she faced sank deeper into her consciousness. Not only was her husband's legacy on the line, but the very foundation of their shared life was under threat. Every laugh they shared, every moment of intimacy, could they have been built on a foundation of secrets? The more she thought about it, the more she felt the ground shift beneath her, like walking on thin ice, unsure when it might crack. The urgency clawed inside her to find answers, Yet a simmering anxiety held her back. She carefully placed the photograph back down, taking a step away as if creating distance would somehow clarify her thoughts. The sensation that accompanied the image was akin to a whispering echo from the past one she might have ignored in the hustle of their busy lives. Mark had been completely devoted, or so she had believed. What was this hidden part of him? Feelings of betrayal brewed hotter than anger within her. Yet she felt she had no right to these emotions. Was it possible that she had only seen what he wanted her to see? With renewed determination, she began to examine the clutter around her. The office, a jumble of past projects and memories, transformed into her battlefield. Could digging through this wreckage uncover not only Mark's secrets but also a spark of hidden strength within herself? A determination grew as she recognized the necessity of confronting both the unknowns of Mark's legacy and her own potential. The sounds of her children playing in the background rang faintly, a reminder of the lives depending on her courage, their innocence veiled from the tempest brewing in the adult world. She had to find a way to navigate this affair without losing herself. Turning to a stack of old company files, she felt the sharp edge of determination harden in her chest. It might be time to educate herself about the business that had consumed so much of Mark's time, even if that meant challenging his siblings' authority. Hours slipped away as she flipped through documents, her previous ignorance becoming a source of motivation. There was something invigorating about piecing together the facts, and with each record she read, she felt more competent and empowered. She was grasping at the threads of the company's history, discovering contracts, and analyzing client relations, and her mind began to forge clear pictures of what was at stake. Her phone buzzed, jolting her from her focus. It was a message from Mark's brother, Ryan, inquiring about her intentions with the company. The blunt tone filled her with irritation but also determination. The conversation that needed to happen wasn't going to be easy, but she knew it would solidify her position. She couldn't hide behind Mark's shadow anymore. It was time to step into the light, even if it burned. Taking one more look at the photograph before setting it down, she understood that every great journey begins with a single step. She had to confront her fears, the siblings, and ultimately, the truth of her husband's hidden life. As night fell, she sat resolutely at her kitchen table, drafting her response to Ryan, the pending confrontation looming like an approaching storm. The weight of her choice pressed heavily on her mind, but she felt a resolute fire kindle in her heart. With each word she typed, clarity began to emerge, and the direction of her path solidified. The time had come for Emily to brace herself for the challenges ahead and face those who sought profit over family, all while unpacking the truth of her husband's legacy. As she finished her message, an unexpected visitor knocked on her door. Who stood outside, ready to challenge her newfound resolve? Emily took a steadying breath, her heart racing in anticipation as she approached the door. She hadn't expected to face anyone, yet her confrontation with Ryan was a necessary step. But she felt unprepared. Gathering her thoughts, she pressed her palm against the cool wood of the door and opened it. Standing before her was a tall woman with an air of familiarity, Mark's younger sister, Claire. The distant chill in their previous interactions faded as she met Emily's gaze. There was an unspoken tension between them, a reflection of shared sorrow that now morphed into something else. Challenge. Can we talk? Claire's voice was tinged with uncertainty, not typical of her usual assertiveness. Emily sensed the vulnerability beneath her sister-in-law's polished exterior. Sure. Come in. Emily stepped aside, her mind racing as emotions flooded her system. Would this encounter be confrontational, or perhaps an opportunity for understanding? Claire settled into a seat at the kitchen table, glancing around as if she were entering a new realm. She hesitated before speaking, as if weighing her words. I heard you were digging into the company's records. Yes, I am, Emily replied, her voice firm. I need to understand what I'm dealing with. Claire rested her elbows on the table, her fingers intertwined, as if she were bracing for a storm. You know that Ryan and I have plans for the company. We believe in our father's vision. This business is our legacy. The tone hinted at familial loyalty, but Emily felt an urgent need to assert herself. What about my legacy? Mark's legacy? Emily countered, feeling her determination mirror the intensity of the moment. This isn't just about the business anymore. It's about the truth of what he left behind. Claire's brows furrowed as she attempted to compose herself. What truth are you looking for? We all have our ideals about how this should run, but do you truly want to challenge the very people who've built this place? The question hung in the air, charged with historical weight. Emily remembered the whispers of trust and betrayal, and as she contemplated Claire's inquiry, something within her stirred. She had been molded by her role as a supportive wife. Now that foundation was crumbling. What was the woman behind the supportive facade capable of, with the burden of this knowledge? I want to honor Mark's memory, Emily articulated, her voice softer but firm. But that requires transparency. If I only uncover secrets and lies, how can I represent this family? How can I save it? The silence that followed was thick, a roiling tension where resolve and uncertainty collided. Claire looked as if she was about to respond but faltered. The momentary vulnerability crossed her face, mirroring Emily's hidden misgivings. Perhaps they were not so different after all. Suddenly, an idea sparked within Emily, a path forward that could shatter the barriers, intimacy forged from shared struggles. Could we work together? You know this business deeply. Perhaps we can understand Mark's vision together and build something from the ashes. Claire's expression softened, a glimmer of hope breaking through the familial barrier. Maybe, she began, tentatively. Emily pressed further, feeling the urgency hum in her veins. What if we dive into this together? Balance the ideals with the truth, all of us? Claire pondered, nodding slowly. We should consider what this means for everyone, for the company. A sense of camaraderie crackled in the air as the two women engaged. Not as rivals but as partners, each possessing a vital piece of the truth that awaited. And as they strategized for the difficult conversations ahead, Emily's mind began to unravel new layers of strategy. But just as Emily found a rare moment of unity, a knocking echoed outside, this time more urgent. What had she just heard? A new voice intruding upon their fragile agreement? This could shatter everything she was attempting to build with Claire. Their eyes met. Dread crept into Emily's heart. Who is it this time? She whispered, suddenly feeling the familiar icy grip of uncertainty creeping back. The knocking intensified, a sharp reminder of the urgency clawing at Emily's resolve. Claire's brows knotted with confusion, mirroring Emily's unease. They were standing at the precipice of collaboration when all at once, a storm threatened to engulf them. Do you want me to answer it? Claire's voice trembled slightly, betraying her uncertainty. Emily nodded, even as apprehension bubbled within her. With a deep breath, she turned the knob and opened the door. The figure waiting outside was not who she expected. Instead of a business adversary or an ally, it was a delivery man with a package, thick and bulky, inscribed with the company's logo. I need a signature, he said, his voice gruff. As she signed, the weightiness of the parcel felt almost prophetic. Instinctively, she closed the door behind her, beckoning Claire to take a look. They set the package on the table, the weight of the unopened box pressing down on their budding alliance. What do you think it is? Claire asked, her curiosity mingled with caution. Emily felt an electric surge of anticipation. Perhaps this was fate's intervention. What if the contents of the box altered everything they were trying to build? I don't know, but we should find out, Emily proposed, her voice steady. There was no going back now. They had a choice, to confront the unknown or let it fester, lingering as a potential obstacle to their collaboration. Claire nodded, biting her lower lip. They finally opened the box together, the flaps unfolding like layers of their complex relationships. Inside lay a collection of dusty documents, and beneath them, a rolled-up canvas, a painting. Emily's heart raced as she carefully unrolled the canvas. Once unfurling, it revealed the vibrant image of a family gathering, a snapshot in time that encapsulated past warmth. But amidst the familiar faces, one stood out. Hidden in the background was a figure whose identity was unmistakable. That a sense of unease gripped her. This painting, do you recognize it? No, Claire said, her voice quiet. But I've seen this before in our father's room. It's always held a mystique about it. As they examined the detailed craftsmanship of the piece, Emily discovered, distinctly etched into the corner, a smaller image obscured by the paint, something that seemed deliberately concealed. She brushed her fingers over the surface, the texture revealing an embossed photograph set against the canvas. Wait, there is something behind the paint, Emily murmured, excitement mingling with apprehension with a practical instinct kicking in. The two women delicately scraped away the paint, revealing a hidden photograph of Mark alongside an unfamiliar woman. Her heart clenched tight. Who was she? What had Mark not told her? Claire, we need to dig deeper. This could lead to answers about him and the company, Emily said, her resolve solidifying into determination. The truth was lurking just beneath the surface. Claire's gaze flickered with doubt. But what if this complicates things further? What if this woman has ties to the company we're trying to preserve? Emily swallowed hard, her mind racing through the implications. It's precisely why we need to face this. It's part of the legacy. If we don't confront the truth, we'll never understand how to honor Mark's vision. The desperation in her voice struck a chord with Claire, whose own expression began to shift from reluctance to an acknowledgement of the unforeseen urgency. As they stood at the crossroads between discovery and denial, Emily's mind buzzed with strategies and the haunting question of whether they were prepared to face whatever this new revelation uncovered. Let us do this together, Claire said, her voice steadier, reflecting a newfound resolve. The echo of potential allyship surged as they plotted their next steps. An unsettling thought flickered in Emily's mind. What if this truth fractured more than just their relationship with the company? What would it reveal about Mark? Just as the depth of her determination surged, another knock startled them both, louder this time, a summons towards the confrontations yet to come. What now? Emily asked, her heart racing again, dread and anticipation intertwining. This was becoming less about business and more about navigating the labyrinth of her husband's secrets. Resolute, she opened the door once more to face what awaited them in the unfolding drama of their intertwined fates. The door swung open, revealing a tall figure cloaked in a dark coat, the kind that demanded attention and respect. It was David, a senior executive from Mark's company, his expression unreadable. The heaviness in the air thickened, coiling around Emily's chest like a serpent. She had half expected someone from the board, perhaps a representative, to deliver bad news or hold a grudge. Instead it was David, a man she barely knew but had heard whispers about his ambition rumored to rival that of Mark's. Emily, Claire, he greeted, his voice polished yet edged with uncertainty. I need to speak with you. Now. The urgency in his tone twisted the knot of tension in Emily's stomach tighter. She glanced at Claire, reading the same cocktail of feelings reflected in her sister's eyes. Fear mixed with curiosity about what this meeting could entail. The package, the unveiling of Mark's secrets, it was as though their entire world had been flipped inside out. And now another layer of challenge emerged. Come in, Emily managed, stepping aside to allow him entry. As he crossed the threshold, she couldn't help but feel he brought an unsettling weight with him, a harbinger of truths yet to unfold. David settled in the chair opposite them, a hawk preparing to dive into its prey. I know this is a difficult time for both of you, he began, leaning forward as if to project a sense of solidarity. But there are serious matters that need addressing. Your father's Mark's business decisions before he passed have raised some concerns. Emily felt her heart race. Would this be the moment where she unravels the legacy he left behind? What do you mean? What concerns? Claire's voice broke slightly, but she held her ground. Operations have been jeopardized due to unclear directives, David replied, steepling his fingers. I have the board breathing down my neck, and the circumstances surrounding your father's passing have made it challenging to continue business as usual. I need to know how you plan to proceed. Their conversation felt like an uncharted territory, one that pushed Emily deeper into survival mode. Somehow, the weight of the painting and the photograph, those fragments of Mark's hidden life, made her feel both powerful and powerless. The urge to uncover Mark's truths directly contradicted the urge to defend what he created. How could she face his decisions without a true understanding of the man she thought she knew? Mark kept secrets, Emily said, her voice gaining strength with each word. And we are just beginning to understand why. There's a painting, a document that has led us here. If we want to honor his vision, we must confront the truths may conflict with our understanding of the company. David's gaze sharpened, intrigued and cautious. A painting? What are you talking about? Emily exchanged a look with Claire, contemplating how much to disclose. Sometimes the truth could fracture more than it mended. Yet this felt too pivotal to gloss over. We believe it contains hidden clues and opportunity to untangle Mark's legacy from the shadows he left behind. You're saying this could alter our course? David's interest visibly piqued, a flicker of excitement crossing his features. Not just alter, Claire interjected, but it could explain traits and decisions he's made that bewilder us. It might present the answers our company needs right now. The three of them fell into heavy contemplation, the room thick with the charged silence of unspoken implications. Somehow, the knowledge of what could be revealed had shifted dynamics. For David, the prospect of leveraging that hidden information could mean securing his position as a leader. For Emily and Claire, it posed a moral dilemma steeped in loyalty and fear of the unknown paths diverging ahead of them. Do you realize the risk? David questioned, sharpening his stance. Unraveling Mark's connections could destabilize everything. Risk is inherent in business, Emily said, pushing back against the pressure that clawed at her resolve. But if we don't find the truth, we are no better than those hiding behind false pretenses. David's brow furrowed as he considered her words. A flicker of admiration crossed his face, mingled with wariness. You must choose wisely. Emily felt something shift within her, unshackling courage. They were treading into territories that could reshape their futures, and yet each step felt solid, guided by newfound determination. As the three of them sat, heavy with the weight of this newfound alliance, another thought pressed against the edges of her mind. What if the hidden secrets didn't just threaten the company but their very identities? The storm they were about to ride was still gathering, and Emily sensed that whatever was coming would unearth more than just Mark's legacy. It would challenge who they were, and who they could become. A sharp knock broke the reverie. David's composure shattered momentarily, revealing anxiety. That's our board demanding answers. It's time. Steeling herself, Emily realized that the path ahead was precarious. They were no longer just heirs to a legacy now. They carried the weight of revelation. Whatever lay beyond this door would test her resilience and redefine her role as a leader. As uncertainty morphed into resolve, Emily opened the door, ready to confront whatever truths, the unspoken realities, were waiting to collide with her destiny. The door creaked as it swung wide, revealing the board members clustered in the sterile meeting room, their expressions a mixture of impatience and expectation. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting an unflattering glare. Emily felt an immediate shift in the atmosphere. The air thickened with anticipation, and her pulse quickened. She stepped into the room with Claire close behind, while David lingered at the threshold, collecting his thoughts like a warrior before battle. Ladies, he addressed the group, his voice slightly steadier. We need to discuss the implications of the recent developments regarding the company's operations and the future directives. His initial urgency had transitioned into a professional facade, but Emily could sense the underlying tension. Several heads turned towards Emily and Claire, skepticism etched across their faces. They weren't just the daughters of the deceased founder. They were now potential disruptors, wild cards in a game played by corporate giants. Even as they entered, Emily grappled with a storm of self-doubt. Would they see her and Claire as inexperienced? Would Mark's absence overshadow their legitimacy? Yes, I'm aware of how important this meeting is. Emily finally spoke, squaring her shoulders. Her voice resonated, shivering slightly with the weight of unvoiced fears. We understand that our father's decisions may have created uncertainty, and we must address it. The words felt feathery at first, but quickly gained substance as she metabolized her unease into determination. Addressing them begins with admitting that we need to uncover the full scope of what was happening before our father's passing. Claire added, her eyes flashing. We believe there are crucial elements, including a painting and a document, that could provide clarity. Murph, an older board member with thinning hair, scoffed. What relevance could a painting have in our current crises? Emily felt herself tense. This was a crucial moment, how to frame her argument, so they would grapple with her words instead of dismissing them. I understand the skepticism, Emily acknowledged, scanning the faces around the table. But if we treat our father's legacy with suspicion rather than inquiry, we may overlook vital insights. He was not a simple man. The decisions he made were layered with complexities we cannot even begin to fathom without first understanding his perspective. As she spoke, she could feel the gravity of her claims grounding her. Each passing moment ignited her inner resolve, urging her not to shrink in the face of opposition, but to solidify her presence. She had inherited more than a company. She had inherited a legacy laced with secrets and truths waiting to unfold. Her gaze locked with David's briefly. A silent agreement sparking between them. He understood the risks, but he also recognized the value of disclosure. I suggest we take an approach that blends our inquiries with the urgency of current operations, David interjected smoothly, aligning with her momentum. Rather than dismissing potential insights, let us explore the ramifications of what that painting might reveal. This could fortify us against the board's criticisms, while reinforcing our commitment to transparency. Emily felt a swell of gratitude towards him, finding her ally in unexpected terrain. Yet, every muscle in her body tightened, anticipating the backlash they would undoubtedly face. Are we really going to gamble our future on the whims of a painting? Murph pressed, his voice rising above the growing murmur. In that moment, Emily recognized her role. It wasn't just to uphold her father's legacy. It was to define her own position within it. Yes, she asserted, a strange conviction pulsing through her. If it leads us to understanding our father more fully, if it leads us to recognition of the potential that still exists, then we must pursue it. Fostering transparency will safeguard against future misunderstandings and misdirections. The board's murmurs grew cautious, a ripple of doubt tracing through the room. Emily steeled herself, refusing to falter. This was no longer about hidden cards. This was about gathering knowledge to make decisions that could shape their futures. Her nerve blossomed into a fire within, igniting a vision for what could be, and she would not back down. Listen, she continued, the board member's scrutiny sharpening her focus. We owe it to ourselves, to the legacy we aim to build, not just to follow in our father's footsteps blindly, but to confront the complexities he left behind. Only then can we forge a path that is truly our own. For a fleeting moment, silence enveloped the room. David nodded approvingly, his eyes glinting with newfound respect and recognition. But before either of them could rejoice in this shared moment of realization, heartrending anxiety rushed over Emily like a wave. What if the revelation she sought not only challenged the corporate structure but unraveled her and Claire's very identities? Ladies, we need real, actionable plans, the board chair, Sandra, interrupted crisply, shaking Emily from her reverie. If you're suggesting we pursue this painting and whatever it contains, you must also be prepared to defend this direction vehemently. The urgency in her voice drove a spike of awareness through Emily, and she felt every eye upon her. The reality was heavy, pressing against her. Each decision now hinged upon their next steps, and she was determined to not crumble under the weight of expectation. What do you need from us? David prompted, showing his alignment with her vision. We need resources, a team ready to delve into this with us. An investigation initiated immediately, Emily declared, newfound assurance threading through her voice, gaining strength with each syllable as the conversation launched into strategic logistics. Emily's mind spiraled ahead, envisioning the discoveries waiting just beneath the surface. The tension electrified the air. Every revelation, every choice would demand clarity. She had faced one challenge, but numerous paths carved forward still loomed ahead, filled with shadows that beckoned compellingly. The meeting began to divide into logistical discussions, yet beneath the surface lay a simmering complexity just waiting to break free. What truths would they unearth? Would the very revelation that had sparked this journey turn against them if they ventured too far? Emily took a breath, both excited and unnerved. As the murmurs washed over her, one thought anchored her amidst the uncertainty. The real test was yet to come, and this was only the beginning. Outside, clouds gathered, obscuring the sun, a dark omen or a promise. The truth may lie lost within those shadows, entwined in a legacy waiting to be unveiled. Little did she know how soon they were to confront a secret that would push her even further into the depths of her father's hidden life, a truth potentially damning, and one that would shape not only the trajectory of the company but redefine who she was altogether. As the strategic conversation unfolded, adrenaline coursed through Emily's veins like river water rushing against the banks. Each proposal, each rebuttal ignited a sense of responsibility she had never fully felt before. It wasn't just about the company anymore. It was about her own emergence, her own journey into uncharted territory. With each logistical detail discussed and procedural pathway laid out, Emily found her confidence fracturing the apprehension that had clung to her. She began to realize that her father's legacy was not merely a shadow she had to live under, rather, It could be a beacon guiding her forward. Let us prioritize our investigation, Claire suggested, meeting Emily's enthralled gaze. We can understand the implications of our father's decisions while addressing immediate operational issues. They're not mutually exclusive. As Claire spoke, Emily realized how pivotal their partnership had become. They were no longer just his daughters. They were co-pilots destined to navigate an unknown realm, empowered by their shared resolve. Exactly, Emily jumped in, her voice carrying fervor. We need a diverse team, someone from finance for insights into fiscal implications, a marketing strategist to reframe our branding, and perhaps a historian or art expert, given the painting's context. She felt energized, ideas swirling in her mind like leaves caught in a gust of wind. The painting represented a bridge to their past, a bridge that could articulate their present and forge their future. As the board began to nod, their skepticism tempered with intrigue, Emily could almost taste the liberation they craved. She bit her lip, suppressing thoughts of past failures, those moments when self-doubt had paralyzed her, and instead fueled a vision that galvanized everyone in the room. Let us assign definitive roles, David chimed in, injecting urgency into the room. I can liaise with our financial officers. Murph, you could assist with activating the marketing side, right? Murph, though often dismissive, nodded reluctantly, and Emily noted the subtle shifting within him. Perhaps her words had begun to sow seeds of respect. The alignment of goals seemed to stir something within the other members as well. Yet, in the throes of this burgeoning camaraderie, an unwelcome pang of anxiety gripped Emily. What if they uncovered something that jeopardized their standing? What if the missing document revealed corruption or deceit that would ruin them? The thought came abruptly, almost like a whisper scratching at the edge of her mind. It sent a shiver of doubt slithering down her spine, mingling uncertainty with her newly acquired courage. Would bravery be enough to shield the company and their identities from impending destruction? As if sensing her internal struggle, Claire placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, grounding her. A wave of gratitude washed over Emily, realizing how vital her sister's unwavering support was in the face of relentless upheaval. Let us not forget why we're doing this, Claire said, her eyes searching Emily's. It's about our father, his vision, the truth. With those words, Emily felt her flame flicker back to life, rekindled. We delve for clarity not just for ourselves but for the legacy we want to build. Yet as visions of their shared future danced tantalizingly in her mind, doubt continued to wear away at her resolve. In the outskirts of her conscience, dread began to soften the edges of hope. Each step forward promised revelations that might fracture their ambitions, might challenge the ideals they cherished. You're right, David interjected, clearly sensing their shifting motivations. But we need to brace for anything. Let us prepare a statement that communicates our commitment to transparency, in case the findings challenge public perception. We need a PR strategy ready to launch. The air in the room thickened, a tense cocktail of trepidation and possibility. While they hustled to craft their next steps, Emily couldn't shake the mounting awareness that though forward momentum was critical, shadows lurked in her father's past that could bear heavy consequences. What else is out there? Emily mused, more to herself. She racked her brain for memories of their father's stories, any fragment that might hold meaning, any clue to the painting's significance. Outside the sterile boardroom walls, the storm clouds multiplied, mirroring the turmoil brewing within her. The future was intimated within those shadows, a dichotomy of assurance interlaced with uncertainty. Let us meet tomorrow to kick off the preliminary investigations, Claire suggested, drawing Emily back to the moment. We need to gain momentum before a crash echoed from somewhere deep within the building, and the boardroom fell silent, tension taut as a drawn bowstring. Every eye turned toward the door. What was that? Emily asked, feeling the weight of reality press down on her shoulders. The stakes heightened, anxiety coursing anew through her with a different texture. An accident, I hope, David said with measured calm, but uncertainty cloaked his words. In that charged silence they waited, breath held tight against the unknown. What awaited them in the depths of their father's legacy? What tangled truths lay behind the closed door? And as the feeling of impending revelation washed over her, a single thought thundered louder than the storm outside. The time had come to face the past. What untold power lay concealed beneath layers of familial myths and whispered secrets? Emily's heart raced, pulse echoing in her ears, As the silence of the boardroom clawed at her thoughts, the echo of the crash rippled through her, penetrating the steely facade that her professional demeanor had momentarily built. With Claire at her side, she felt a flicker of shared determination contrasted sharply against the unknown lurking beyond the door. "What if there's more?" Emily murmured, her voice almost swallowed by the tension. "What if this is linked to the painting?" Claire met her eyes, the flicker of apprehension mirrored there. "We need to take control of this," she replied, "not just as a sister but as a partner in this tumultuous journey. Let us be proactive." They exchanged a knowing look before Claire turned to the rest of the board, who shifted uneasily in their seats. Emily sensed that a significant shift was underway, not just in the dynamics of this meeting but within herself. The anticipation of discovery ignited an urgency she hadn't known she possessed. "Let us split up," she proposed, her voice steadier this time, carrying the weight of tension and promise. "Claire, you and I will investigate the painting's origins. David, Murph, you start digging into the accounts tied to that area of the business. We need to connect the dots before this spiral expands." "Right," David agreed, flipping open his notebook. Emily noted how his demeanor transformed from detached observer to engaged contributor, relishing the sudden empowerment she had sparked. Emily's mind raced as she mentally charted the path ahead. They might find deception woven through the company's history, but perhaps they could excavate something redemptive in its place. Yet the specter of uncertainty loomed larger than the shadow of the door behind her. What could they unearth that might either vindicate or devastate? As conversations resumed energetically around the table, she felt a surge of boldness. The impulses to veer towards doubt faded as her resolve strengthened. She was not merely digging into her father's legacy. She was shaping her own identity, separate and distinct from the past she had inherited. "Before we go," Emily spoke, her words deliberate, "let us reinforce our commitment to transparency with the public. Whatever we find might shake opinions. This is bigger than us." Nods circled the room as the team began to coalesce around this newfound purpose. They were no longer just delving into a corporate investigation. They were entering a reclamation of integrity. She felt the weight of her father's legacy heavy, yet filled with potential for transformation as they finalized their roles and timelines. A flurry of ideas sparked discussion. Emily felt herself becoming more than an executor of plans, she was becoming a leader. Each suggestion ignited her desire to step further from her father's shadow and carve her own path forward. But lingering questions gnawed at her, memories of whispered family stories swirling like apparitions. Had her father hidden something sinister beneath the surface of his esteemed reputation? What safeguards had he put in place that could now crumble under the scrutiny of discovery? The crash rattled her thoughts again. This moment marked a seismic shift from ignorance towards an awakening that was daunting yet exhilarating. With each task she assigned, she felt her grasp of the unfolding reality tightening as they concluded their meeting. Emily stirred with impatience to dive into the investigation. With each step she took towards that unknown, she could feel the barrier between her past and her future narrowing. "Let us touch base this evening," Emily encouraged, glancing meaningfully at Claire. "No matter what we find, let us promise to face it together." Together. The bond they shared deepened, buoying their spirits like the rising tide. As they filed out of the boardroom, Emily lingered for one last moment, glancing back at the door where the crash had echoed from. A determination sparked in her chest. This was merely the beginning. A step into uncharted waters that could lead to profound personal growth and lasting change. What awaited them beyond that door? What truths would cause their lives and their own identities to collide against a backdrop of family history? As her mind swirled with possibilities, she felt the grip of fate tighten, setting the stage for revelations that could transform everything. The next stage of their investigation beckoned ominously. What could be lurking just out of sight? Each impulse within her resonated with urgency. They were ready to confront family secrets that could either unite or divide them irrevocably. The hum of the bustling office surrounded Emily as she and Claire stepped into the gallery of their family's legacy, a space that felt simultaneously exhilarating and suffocating. The walls, lined with paintings both familiar and foreign, bore a weight that transcended their aesthetic value. Each canvas seemed to press upon her like the years of expectation tethered to her family name. With every breath, she pulled strength from her resolve while absorbing the reality of the mission at hand. There was no turning back now as they began their investigation into the painting's origins. The air shimmered with possibilities. She sifted through information, piecing together narratives that had long been concealed behind familial facade. The stakes felt impossibly high. Claire's analytical nature complemented Emily's instinctive drive, a partnership forged through shared history, and the unyielding need to unravel their father's secrets. Start with the art appraisals from the past few decades, Claire suggested, her voice steady yet filled with determination. We need to know who had access and who might have motives for tampering with the truth. Nodding, Emily launched into action. It wasn't just about uncovering a hidden painting. It was about rediscovering who she was, unearthing her own identity twisted within the complexities of business and family myth. As they delved deeper, shadows of doubt flicked at the edges of her courage. What if her father had scrawled misdeeds onto the canvas of their family history? Hours melted by, each moment steeped in revelations that sparked equal measures of disgust and empathy. There, in the quiet corners of the office, Emily saw glimpses of herself reflected in the very brushstrokes they scrutinized. She was driven not only by ambition but by the desire to reclaim their narrative, to showcase their work's true merit instead of hiding behind illustrious names. Look at this, Claire called excitedly, breaking through Emily's spiraling thoughts as she leaned over a dusty ledger connecting the painting to numerous anonymous sales. This piece changed hands more than we knew. We're looking at a potential trail of deception. The thrill of discovery ignited momentum within Emily that she had not felt before. Armed with information, they were no longer at the mercy of the shadows cast by their father. This was their moment to be catalysts for change. Yet, just as she felt the current of purpose surge through her, a wave of uncertainty crashed down. The more they unearthed, the heavier the burden seemed. It now felt like Jamie, their father, shrouded in convoluted tales of triumph, had waded through moral ambiguity. Each fact began to evoke a sense of betrayal that made her question her own choices. Had she unknowingly opted into this legacy of duplicity? The sky outside shifted, darkening with the impending storm, mirroring her turbulent emotions. The walls felt closer, trapping her in the gravity of familial heritage. The worst part was knowing that this was only the beginning. Claire caught the brush of her trepidation, resting a hand on her shoulder as if to ground her. "We've got this, Em. Whatever we find, we're going to face it," Claire reassured, her unyielding faith serving as a lifeline. Emily inhaled sharply, steeling herself. As they compiled their findings into a coherent strategy, a final piece of information crystallized a dreadful intent. A name surfaced from the shadows, someone deeply embedded in their father's affairs, someone who may have orchestrated the painting's murky history. The realization coursed through her veins like fire. She would not merely confront her family's past. She would hold accountable those who exploited it. "The time has come to face the consequences of their actions," she uttered, the weight of her own resolve anchoring her turbulent thoughts. But amidst the certainty came a question that provoked new conflict. Was she ready to confront someone who had shared her blood, or would she falter before the ultimate confrontation? As storm clouds rolled overhead, the answer lingered, ominous and unyielding. A reckoning loomed ahead, demanding that she embrace her newfound strength, or risk losing herself entirely in the pursuit of truth. Emily knew the moment was drawing near. She looked to Claire, determination shining in her eyes, steeling for the next steps. "Let us finish this. Let us uncover the truth." And in that moment, a chill swept through the air, hinting at the hidden layers yet to be uncovered. What awaited them was a reckoning deeper than she had ever anticipated. Emily Turner stood in front of the once familiar office, transformed into a space of discovery and renewal. The haze that had clouded her mind since Mark's death had begun to lift. In those harrowing weeks of uncertainty and betrayal, she had unearthed more than just secrets about him. She had aligned herself with her own strength. This was the moment she would prove to everyone, most importantly, to herself, who she could become. After days of navigating the treacherous waters of family dynamics, Emily had ascended, stepping away from the shadows of her late husband's legacy and stepping into the light of her own ambition. The clandestine truths revealed through the hidden painting and photograph illuminated pathways she had never envisioned. The painting had become a symbol of her transformation, compelling her to confront not only her husband's past but her own potential. There stood Claire, her once adversarial sister-in-law, now a steadfast ally. Together they had conquered doubts and fears, forging a bond that transcended their previous estrangement. Their partnership had blossomed into a formidable force. Each challenge faced only solidified their resolve to honor the integrity of the company, the legacy of Mark, and their own identities. As they prepared to present their findings to the board, Emily felt solid confidence rise within her. The walls felt less claustrophobic. They felt like supports for the resolve she had cultivated. It wasn't merely about confronting injustice. It was about reclaiming her identity as a leader, a visionary unafraid to shine a light into dark corners. She glanced at Claire, who mirrored her sentiments with a nod. They were ready. The boardroom atmosphere hummed with tension as members gossiped about the impending revelations. When it was finally Emily's turn to speak, she took a deep breath, grounding herself in the palpable energy that surrounded her. Today we are not just here to discuss business. We are here to embrace the tenets of transparency and integrity. With each word, she articulated the findings of their investigation. The complex history of the painting was no longer a burden. It was a key to unlocking the potential for a brighter future. The revelations they unearthed about Mark were profound, revealing not betrayal, but a man striving for legacy amidst his own complexities. Like all of them. As she spoke, Emily could feel their skepticism simmer down. She advanced into territory where her voice rang clear and true. The discussions that followed were dynamic, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose. It became evident to her that this was no longer just her battle, it had become a collective awakening. The members of the board engaged, reconvening with leadership and direction. They were no longer merely Mark's heirs. They were influential architects of the company's future. Amidst the discussions, an overwhelming sense of recognition washed over Emily. Confidence bloomed as she navigated through various alternatives and strategies. Concrete decisions materialized, not in spite of Mark's past, but because of the understanding they had gained of him. The painting had served its purpose. It invited them to preserve the integrity of their heritage while carving new paths forward. After a tumultuous and engaging day, as Emily stepped out of the boardroom, she noticed a sense of lightness eclipsing the tension of denial that had draped over her since the beginning. Each stride away from the table felt like a chains breaking free. She embraced the possibility of becoming the face of their renewed hope, a role intrinsically tied to her own growth. She had accomplished the unthinkable. Not only had she confronted the legacies of secrets and mistrust, but she had emerged as a recognized leader within her father-in-law's company. The whispers of doubt had transformed into declarations of respect. She was no longer just a widow navigating a complex business landscape. She was Emily Turner, an empowered force with the credentials to lead them into a promising future. As she walked alongside Claire, they paused momentarily outside the office. The painting they had diligently researched loomed in the background, its colors vibrant against the sunset that spilled through the windows, illuminating their paths ahead. Instead of fear, a profound sense of pride enveloped her. The turmoil of the past now served as a foundation upon which she stood tall. And as the storm clouds finally parted, a new dawn illuminated Emily's journey, a new beginning forged from the very truth she had once feared. With Claire by her side, she realized the importance of embracing her past while courageously stepping into her future. It was in this moment of resolute transformation that she felt entirely whole. Turning back towards the horizon, she envisioned both her company and her life thriving in the wake of renewed strength and genuine connections. She was ready to take on the world without fear, without hesitation, a beacon of empowerment for herself and her family. The journey was far from over, but she had learned that these challenges were opportunities for growth, a universal truth she would carry forward with every step she took. Now you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure we can keep bringing you gripping tales of personal transformation. Comment your reactions and theories about this impressive conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.